Hi, and welcome back to the It's a Girl Thing podcast. It's me, Kate, and we're here for another day, another chit chat, and another you and me session. Happy Sunday. I've got the notebook all ready, and this week we're going to be talking about mental health. Because last time I checked, it's Mental Health Awareness Month, so I thought it's a good time to dig into the lowdown and talk about it. So first of all, if you're new, welcome. I'm Kate, an 18-year-old girl from New Zealand, taking on the world for the first time. And I'm someone who's struggled with not knowing when to reach out, not having a sister or somebody that I can turn to. So I wanted to become that for other people like me. So I hope you find a place here, enjoy the show, and yeah, if you've been here for a while now, welcome back again. Every week, we're here, you and me. And I just want to say, don't forget to tell a friend about the show, because you might not realise it, but somebody in your life might actually benefit from having somebody else in their corner, especially somebody they don't know. Life update, what's there to say? Oh, I'm heading home next weekend. I'm very excited. I've got a little conference I'm going to for my church, which is just for the weekend because I unfortunately can't stay for the week-long one the week after, because I have stuff going on here that I have to be involved in, which is more important. Little side note, didn't realise that last week's episode about friendships was going to bring up drama that I didn't want to be a part of. I was just telling my experiences, but apparently somebody was a bit triggered by that. Not thrilled, but that's okay. Everyone's entitled to their own thoughts, their own opinions, but I'm not here for that negativity anymore. What was so fun this week was Coco Confessions with the girls. My 3 uni besties, they came and they hang out with me in my room while we recorded Coco Confessions. So it got a little bit chaotic, and I'm sitting here, they're sitting behind the camera, and we're all making eye contact, and they're looking at me when I reveal your confessions. So if you want to see the extended version of that with all the chaos, head over to YouTube. But if you just want to hear some stories, then don't forget to tune in right here on whatever your favourite streaming platform is. And what else is there to say? Oh, we went out last night. That was entertaining. I actually came back to my uni room, back to our accommodation 3 times. First time we dropped off someone's jacket. Second time we dropped off one of my friends who had a little bit too much to drink, so couldn't get into the club. And then came back when I came home. It was a fun night, but there is a story I will link into later on in the episode because it does relate. Well, sorry, I feel like I'm word vomiting a little bit. And I think I'm a little bit stressed. I'm a little bit overwhelmed. I'm a little bit tired and exhausted. And it's so important to me that I show that side to you. That it's not just all sunshines and rainbows. Here comes Kate with all the advice and all the stories. But she's perfectly fine. Because I'm not always perfectly fine. And I think that's so important that we talk about it, unpack it, because social media doesn't portray that at all. Social media is such a highlight reel that we don't even realise half the time that people are struggling till it's too late. So let's get into it. It's Mental Health Awareness Month. This is so important, but it's especially important to me. It's important because mental health has become so more prominent in the generations we're in, the generations coming. And hey, I'm not saying that mental health didn't exist before that, but it was a lot more hidden, it was a lot more isolated, and it wasn't spoken about, and that's where the issues lied. And I always sound a little bit controversial, but I'm literally just going to tell you what's in my head. And I'm wondering, some of the time I wonder if it's more prominent now because we talk about it, that not only other people feel comfortable opening up, but I sometimes wonder if there's the influence of those conversations to people thinking that normal emotions are more than they are. And And I'll probably get into that a little bit more because that is something I personally feel with myself. I am not dismissing any mental health state, any mental health condition. I'm just speculating as to how I've felt and how I've experienced. I'm not a professional. I've not got any training. We're just going to talk as young girls, as young women, and just be prepared. I don't have any diagnosis. I don't come with any background professionally, so just take everything I say with a grain of salt. But once again, I think it's important to talk about. It's important to me because I've struggled. I've had several close friends that have struggled. I've had other people I knew distantly who have struggled, and it's so common to struggle with mental health. And struggling with mental health doesn't just mean that you have a diagnosed condition like depression, anxiety, an eating disorder, OCD. Mental health is not one size fits all. It's not a tick box. It's a feeling. It is how mentally healthy you are. It's such a broad spectrum. I feel like I'm talking really slowly. I'll find out later. But yeah, so let's talk a little bit about my struggles. We'll dig into a little bit about mental health in general. And then I'll share the tips I've learned along the way. So I struggle a lot with anxiety. We're coming back to this because time and time again, this is my biggest struggle. And that doesn't mean I don't have any diagnosis, but I know it's anxiety, and I know to the level of which I struggle, it's like nobody knows your struggles better than you do. Nobody else is in your head. Nobody can tell you how you feel because you know how you feel. And I think that's difficult. And I think, just going to make a quick connection to like medical gaslighting, for example. You might have a kid who's saying that they have this excruciating stomach pain and they have headaches. And the doctor's like, well, we can't find anything wrong, so there mustn't be anything wrong. But you know what you feel. You can feel what you feel. And it doesn't mean that they're correct. I don't know if that made any sense, but I hope it did. And my anxiety comes and goes. I have gotten better at challenging it this year, big time. I have done things that I wouldn't usually do. I keep pushing my driving anxiety in ways. I do things with a little bit less planning sometimes just to see how much I can handle, and I've started going to a gym, and I've got friends, and I'm going out, and I'm doing all these things. Doesn't mean I don't get anxious, but it means I'm challenging that feeling. And I think that's the biggest thing I've done, is actually challenge those feelings, because anxiety is all in your head. Doesn't mean you are making up. Anxiety is. It's everything we make up. It's everything our body, our minds, it's the things we tell ourselves. But that doesn't make it any less important. It doesn't make it any less... I can't even work out what the word I want to use is. It doesn't make it any less valid. That's probably a good word to use. So, I know a lot of people struggle with anxiety or struggle with anxious moments. I've found mine's more consistent than anxious moments, or at least it has been recently. And that's okay, and I'm being honest with you. Because I need to be honest. Because if I'm not honest, then what kind of relationship do you and I even have? What kind of big sister, what kind of online bestie am I if I'm not truthful with you? How can I help you if I can't help myself? I have also struggled with disordered eating, and some of that stems from my anxieties, some of that stems from body dysmorphia, and the occasional situation with my family, and my parents' mindset around food, and health, and body image. And 9 times out of 10, I'm over it. I wish I was completely over it, but it doesn't mean... But the things that I'm left with now are mostly normal things that a lot of people experience, where we don't wake up every day. We don't wake up every day loving ourselves. We don't wake up every day loving our bodies. What an ideal world it would be, and if we could wake up every day and love ourselves. That's the ideal world, but last time I checked, we don't live in an ideal world. And the other thing I struggled with is I have, you can't even call them like depressive moments or depressive episodes, they're just like sad moments. I have moments where I completely fall apart. There was a few years back, where I felt like I was crying myself to sleep just about every night. I can't even fully remember why, but I think that's the thing, is a lot of the time I can't even remember what the issue was, like why I was so sad or why I was feeling the way I feel. And I think that's something that's actually helped me understand other people's mental health before, is that you don't actually know. You don't actually always have the answers. There's not always one starting point. There's not always one ending point. There's not always one reason. But during these, I have these sad moments, and I think what I'm realizing now that I'm through at least what I'd call the worst of it, that these sad episodes, these sad times are just being human. And I think we talk so much about, we're starting to talk so much about mental health, which is fabulous, which is awesome that there are such conversations happening about it. But I think it sometimes makes us look at our bad moments more intensely than they sometimes are. Because it's okay to cry over things. It's okay to have a full breakdown. It's okay to lie on your floor sobbing for 10 minutes. And then you pick yourself up and you keep going. I think we forget that life is a roller coaster. I might reach the absolute top, and I might be on top of the world. I might last like that for a good week. And then all of a sudden, I might have the biggest drop. I might feel miserable for a day. And then I might suddenly build up, and then I might suddenly plateau. I might feel alright for a few days and then drop again. Life is a roller coaster. Things happen, people happen, we happen. Everything contributes to the way we feel and our mental health. So I think it's important that we sometimes remember that it's okay to be human. It is so okay to be human. And it's okay to have feelings, positive or negative. It's okay to express, experience, acknowledge those feelings. Because your struggles are valid, my struggles are valid, your mum's struggles are valid, and we also forget that our parents struggle too. And I like quoting things, or not quoting things, but I like referencing to things I've heard before. And somebody, probably on TikTok, knowing my luck, said something about your parents are experiencing life for the first time too. Everybody on this earth is experiencing life for the first time. They're experiencing the very moment they are in right now for the first time. There is no do-overs. Nobody's got more experience than others, because we're all human and we're all doing this for the first time. And just because we don't see it doesn't mean somebody's not struggling. And that means everybody's struggles are valid, because everybody's learning, everyone's growing, everyone's doing their thing. Plus, we're all very, very different humans. I'd be very worried if you and I were the same. I'd be very worried if my neighbours next door were the same person as me, or went through the exact same struggles to a T, because it's the environment that we're in, the people that we're surrounded by, and so much more that actually contribute to our mental health and how we feel. I think because we're all different, and because we're all in different situations and environments, that we're all going to have different mental health, and that it's like the concept of sympathy and empathy, and I'll walk a mile in someone else's shoes. But I have a problem with people who are like, when you're talking about your mental health, that they try and relate to you. And I think, 5 times out of 10 that's great. But once again, I think we forget that we're all so different. that you may have similar feelings. You might have the occasional feeling that's the same, but you're relating to them might actually be making them feel worse. You can tell them, no, you're not alone in this. But if you're relating too much and you're trying to say, well, actually, I know what that's like. I know, but 9 times out of 10, you don't know. I don't know how you feel because I'm not in your head. I don't have your emotions. I don't have your experiences. So I can't tell you what you feel. So I think we just have to remember that. Oh, this is a little note I've made which is important and kind of goes with what I was just saying. You don't know what happens behind closed doors. You might see the happiest person in the world and they might be, trigger warning, 5 minutes away from killing themselves. And that's dark to think about, but you never know. So I think that's why it's so important that we are kind to everyone, we show love to everybody, that we aren't as quick as we are, because we're all naturally quick to judge, and I'm not going to say I'm any different. I'm working on it, but we need to show more respect and kindness to other people because we don't actually know what they're experiencing, and that little bit of kindness that you might show them might be the thing that saves their life, might change their life, and might help them in a way that you never realised that tiny bit of kindness could do. And finally, in my little let's link it in before we go into tips, you're not alone. You will never ever be alone. There's 7 or 8 billion people on this earth. That's a lot. So trust me, you're never going to be alone. And your mind will tell you otherwise. You'll feel alone. I don't doubt that there'll be moments where you feel lonely or you feel alone. But you are never truly alone. There is always somebody there that you can reach out to. And at the end of the day, I'm always here that you can reach out to. Once again, random stranger on the internet doesn't mean I'm not here. So let's talk through my tips. My tips are personal to me. They're things that have helped me. They may not help you. Or you might go, well, actually, that sounds kind of right, but actually that might not work for me. Or if I just tweak that, it might work. So even at the end of the day, if anything I say has the ability to possibly help one person, then I'm doing something good. Something I've discovered that helps me, especially when I'm having a breakdown and I'm having a moment of overwhelmed feeling, I have to stop myself. It's okay. It's okay. I'll let myself cry. I'm not saying you can't let yourself feel, but you get to the point where you want to just kind of keep going and keep moving because life is not ending in that moment. And sometimes I'll just stop. Often I'll stop and I'll pray about it, but that's not relevant to everybody and that's totally okay. But then what do? I talk to myself out loud because sometimes verbalizing what's going on in your head can help you as well. So I tell myself, well, what am I feeling? What triggered that? And then I go, well, actually, I had a breakdown the other night. I had one of my crappier mental health nights, and I hadn't done a whole bunch of stuff I said I should do. I needed to wash my hair, I needed to take a shower, I needed to make dinner. And it was 8 o'clock, 8:30. So it was getting late. And I was like, okay, how are we going to get the very basics done for the night? So I talked it through with myself. I said, okay, what's the best way to do it? Okay, you've got some vegetables in the fridge. No, yes, I know you can't get yourself to go down to the big commercial kitchen, but you can pop down to the air fryer down the hall and pop something in there. So you're going to sit down, you're going to chop up your veggies, and then you're going to put them in the air fryer, and while they do that, you're going to wash your hair. What I ended up, then I was like, actually, no, let's take the self-care a little bit further, but still keeping it nice and simple. You're going to put a hair mask in, and while your hair mask is in, you're going to chop your veggies and put them in. And then you're going to eat your dinner. Then once your dinner's eaten, you are going to hop in the shower, you're going to wash your hair, and then you're going to sit in front of your heater, because I don't have a hairdryer here. And 9 times out of 10, the reason I don't wash my hair when I know I should is because it gets to like 6 o'clock at night, and then I don't like sleeping with wet hair, especially in winter, and I don't have a hairdryer here. And I was like, but I'll just sit in front of the heater. So I sat in front of the heater for an hour. But because I talked through those steps with myself, because I talked through my emotions and worked out something that I could realistically do, the very bare minimum, and what I could get myself to do, that was important. Okay, I might have been able to do even less on a different night, but talk through what your basics are going to be. Is it just changing into your pajamas and going to bed? Is it brushing your teeth? Is it having a drink of water and going to bed? Like, what is it that's your bare minimum that you can talk yourself into doing? Another tip, which kind of follows off this, is journaling. If you're somebody who is good at writing out your feelings, or are you someone who needs to talk it out loud, but talk it out loud with another person? It can be a friend, it can be family, it can be a trusted adult. Or if you have the means, because therapy is a privilege. But if you have the ability and the privilege to do so, then seek counselling or therapy and work through it with somebody else. Personally, I like to find the small things that bring me joy. Sometimes in a day, it could be as much as the smell of my body lotion, a pretty sunset, that I get to curl up in a nice warm bed at night. But sometimes it can be bigger things that bring me joy: people, place, money, shopping, a lot of online shopping when I can, and I won't deny that I have that privilege. Another I like to think of is a clean space. I can't fully say that right now, but I do need to do a little tidy up this afternoon. I feel like a clean space means a different thing for everybody because we all have different versions of clean. But make sure you clean your space to what your clean is, what makes you feel good, because not everyone's a type A, like, clean freak. And I just want to say that my other tip is it's okay to step out. So last night we were out at the club and it was packed, and the music was really, really loud, and we were dancing and I was doing great. Bearing in mind I was sober as well. And I'm dancing, I'm living my best life, and then I start to like panic, and my thoughts are starting to rush, and then I'm like, somebody spilled a drink on the floor, and one of my friends got a drink on them, and I started to panic, and I'm like, whoa, I am either going to have a breakdown and cry here and have a panic attack here, squished with my friends on the dance floor, or I need to get out as far away from the crowd and the pounding as I can to calm myself down. So that's what I did. I stepped out. I got out into the bar area. I would have gone straight outside, but it was dark. It's a city. I'm a woman. Young woman, and I didn't feel safe to just go outside and wait by myself, even though there was people around, because they're people with alcohol in their systems. And I had to sit out there, and I distracted myself with my phone, and I took that time out. One of my friends came out and she was like, do you need to go outside? And I said yes. And I explained to her that I was trying not to panic, and she was like, it's okay, we can sit here. And I'm grateful for her to sit there. Then the others came out and I felt a little bit awkward because I didn't want to feel like I was destroying anyone's night. But at the end of the day, it's okay to step out. It's okay to tap out. It's okay to say you actually need to go home. You need to do what's actually going to be best for you at the end of the day, because you're the only one that's going to really affect. If they're a real friend, they're not going to have any problem with you needing to do what's best for you. Now let's have a quick little hype girl moment, because you deserve it. So hey bestie, I am actually so happy you're here this week. And I hope you have had a good week. I've had a pretty average one. But hey, we can turn that around. Tomorrow is a new day, a new week, a new mindset, a new start. And I just want you to know that you are loved every day. And even when you don't feel like it, you are. Because you're loved by me, but you're loved by God. And you're loved by your family and your friends. And I just want you to remember that you are not alone. that even when you feel like you're navigating life alone, and even when you feel like you're struggling, you aren't. Because at the very least, you can come here and you've got me and you've got all the girl thing girlies. Because I can assure you, you are not the only person here with me every week. It is just you and me. We are just having our own private moment, but there are other people who are all having their own private moments, and that we're all here together. So I just want you to remember that you're beautiful. You're amazing. And you are good enough. And you are good enough and worthy for yourself. Just because you struggle doesn't mean you aren't worth anything. So I hope that just reminds you of your worthiness today. I just want to say, if you are enjoying the show, don't forget to leave a rating. It'll help more people like you who need a place to go to find us. So let's do a quick summary, and then I think that's us done for the week. So we talked about the fact that it's Mental Health Awareness Month, so don't forget to go spread awareness if you can. Make sure you're reaching out to your friends. Check in with them. Make sure they're okay, because once again, you don't know what's happening behind people's closed doors. We all struggle. We're all different. We've talked about my struggles, mostly my anxiety and how that affects me. We've talked about other people and how we're actually never truly alone in our feelings, that there is always going to be someone you can turn to. We've unpacked my tips, my number one being talk to yourself, voice what's actually going on, because also sometimes when you voice what's going on, it's actually not as intense and not sometimes as serious as it feels. Sometimes we feel more deeply than logic is actually logicking. That didn't make great English, but I hope you get my point.